before she testifies. The state filed an in limine motion dealing with misconduct by the victim, Felicia Williams, and also several issues with Ebony Wiley. One of them was any prior Baker acts. Counsel is advised he's not going to try to elicit evidence of her being Baker acted, but he wants to elicit, if I understand counsel, statements that she may have made at the time of the Baker Act, which occurred in 2012. It's 2 years before the
Statements to whom?
Law enforcement.
Okay, about what?
About, her statement basically is that Satan was trapped in her mind. And when I asked about that during her deposition, she blamed it on drugs, and that she was under the influence, it was a bad trip. The state in opening suggested that when she takes Molly's, and which, by the way, will be testimony that she was under the influence, that it makes her more spiritual, and I can't remember the other part. There was another part that was talked about how it affects
Well,
her.
didn't she go allegedly pray in a closet or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
While this was going on?
right. So I believe that opens the door for me to be able to ask her about, since it's already been put out there as to how it affects
So
her.
when we say spiritual, we don't necessarily mean just a benevolent spirit.
Correct.
Other type spirits sometimes.
Could be. Who knows? And so that's as to that. The other part of the motion in limine deals with me referencing a polygraph that she failed, and I am not planning on discussing the results of the polygraph. I'm not planning on discussing the fact that she took a polygraph. I may, however, ask about her questions and answers during the polygraph without referencing that there was issues about whether or not she was telling the truth or not.
Okay, so what would you have an objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
Just don't reference that it was pursuant to a polygraph examination.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
The only issue is it's going to be a different agency conducting it because TTPD doesn't have a polygraph or polygrapher, so they went to Tampa Police Department. So.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, there's all kinds of different agencies involved in this.
Sure. So just as long, that's fine. You can, if you need to impeach her with any of the responses she gave during the polygraph examination, that's fine. Let's just stay away from the fact it was during a polygraph.
Right.
And then if she does get up here and begin to discuss any spiritual experiences she has while taking drugs or otherwise, if you wish to cross-examine her that these spiritual experiences involve both positive and negative forces.
Well, and I'm going to suggest, Your Honor, that the state has already put that in front of the jury.
Well, they have. The jury's heard that.
Right.
Okay, so.
I think that opens the door.
I'm not sure I agree with that, but
Well, you did tell them in an opening statement
I
about
did.
Ms. Wiley and how she becomes much more spiritual when she uses drugs. And then there was what I heard in an opening statement about her retreating to a closet to pray.
correct.
So the jury could possibly have the perception that this is just a very spiritual woman who, even though she's using narcotics, it really just enhances her spirituality, which I think it would give a more fuller and accurate depiction if sometimes the spirituality involves a little darker spirit.
Well, the only issue I have with that, I'm not sure when she was Baker acted that the drug she was taking was MDMA or ecstasy. So I think that's a specific thing she experiences when she's on ecstasy.
So she only talks to benevolent spirits when using Molly, but when using other drugs, sometimes Satan shows up.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I don't know
talked to her
either.
about that. I just know it's 2 years before, it's very remote, and it's also extremely prejudicial to her character to talk about anything involving Satan. There are people on the jury who I'm sure are religious, and the effect on them, I think, could be distracting and prejudicial.
Okay.
So.
I find that the probative value outweighs any prejudicial effect. Okay?
Thanks.
Okay. And it was it the state's motion in limine? Yes. So
Yes.
as to the state's motion in limine, as to any prior misconduct of Ms. Williams, that part is granted, correct?
I'm not planning on going into it.
Yes.
As far as, well, I am planning, no, I'm not planning on going into anything other than what's already been brought out
Right.
as far as,
Missing school.
Missing school that Ebony drives up, is basically cussing her out, and then Felicia goes to her job. That's all stuff that Ebony is familiar with, which in fact.
Yeah, that's right. It would be
Right, I have no
anything other than that.
But her beating up on others or
Yes.
having fights with others on her
So for the purposes of the clerk, the motion in limine is granted as to the victim, Felicia Williams. It's denied as indicated as to Ebony Wiley.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Are we now ready to proceed? Okay.
So, just so I'm clear on this, when she's questioned about her prior experience under the influence of drugs, we're not getting into anything about Baker Acts or the fact that she's been Baker.
No.
I have no intentions of asking her about being.
Not that she was Baker acted, just that when this prior incident, she actually spoke to Satan and not some other force, spirit, in a more positive, beneficial one. Okay? Okay, let's go.
All right, you're all set.
All rise, jury entry.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We are ready to proceed. Everyone have a seat. State call your next witness.
State calls Detective Lee Smith.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. Step this way, please. Have a seat on the witness stand.
Very good. You may proceed.
Detective Smith, can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, I'm Lee Smith. Last name is spelled S-M-I-T-H.
And how are you currently employed?
I'm employed with the Tampa Police Department.
And what are your duties with the Tampa Police Department?
I work on a street anti-crime unit in District 1 of Tampa.
So what specifically do you do for the anti-street crime?
We're a plainclothes unit that tackles street crimes that are affecting our area.
And how long have you been working for the Tampa Police Department?
I've been employed with them for 5 years.
Where did you work back in May of 2014?
I worked at the Temple Terrace Police Department.
And how long did you work for them?
5 years approximately.
And what were your duties with the Temple Terrace Police Department?
At that time I was a detective.
In May of 2014?
Yes.
Were there specific crimes that you investigated as a detective in May of 2014, or was it any crime?
My main assignment was a property crimes detective, but due to our small nature as a department, we helped out with other cases also.
Did you become involved in the missing child investigation involving Felicia Williams back in May of 2014?
Yes.
How is it that you became involved in that investigation?
I was contacted at home that morning and asked to respond into the police department to assist with it.
And on what date was that? What morning?
It was the 17th.
Of May?
Yes, ma'am.
And you responded into the Temple Terrace Police Headquarters?
Yes.
And where is that located at?
I believe it's 11250 North 56th Street.
What did you do upon your arrival?
I met with my supervisor, my sergeant, and he briefed us on the case.
When you were briefed on the case, is that you get an update as to what has been done thus far?
Correct, yes.
Were you given any assignments?
I was asked to go and check the apartment where the missing person had last been seen.
And what apartment was that?
That was apartment 721, and that was at 8910 Tanglewood Place.
And are those the Doral Oaks apartment complex?
That's correct.
Were you by yourself or with anyone else?
I was with Detective Elmer.
What did you do when you responded out there to that apartment 721?
We attempted contact there. There was nobody home, so we met with the leasing office manager. She put us in contact with the resident, and that person gave us permission to check the apartment.
The contact name that you were given, was that the person that was associated as being the rentor of the apartment?
That's correct, yes.
And what was that name that was provided?
Gloria Gibson.
Did you make contact with her?
Via phone, yes.
And what was her phone number that you were provided?
I'd have to refer to my report for
Would
the
that refresh
phone
your
number.
recollection?
Yes.
Please let me know when your recollection's been refreshed.
Would be 597. I believe it was 2727. Sorry, I'll check again. I'm sorry. 7935727 with an area code of 813.
I'm sorry, can you state that again?
7975727 with an area code of 813.
When you spoke with her over the phone, did you have any issues understanding her?
Not that I recall.
What was the purpose of you calling her on the phone?
She wasn't there to speak to in person, so we just wanted permission to enter the apartment and check to make sure the missing person was not inside.
And this was the following morning on May 17th of 2014?
Yes,
Did you gain permission to enter that apartment?
we did.
Did you enter into that apartment?
Yes.
What were your observations upon initially entering into that apartment?
The missing person was not located in there. It didn't look like there'd been a struggle in the apartment or anything, so we left.
Was anybody in the apartment?
No,
Did you take any photographs or search any particular areas in that apartment?
not that I recall.
Can you describe how you went about searching through that apartment or how you went about looking for the missing person?
We just went through there really briefly and checked. I don't recall anything particular about inside there.
Did you look in closets? Look in the bathrooms?
Yes.
Did you look in any suitcases?
No.
Items like that?
No.
What was your next assignment after you left the apartment?
I then went to Bradenton to speak with Miss Gibson
And why were you going to Bradenton to speak with Miss Gibson?
to get her account of what took place when the person went missing.
Okay. And so did you respond to Bradenton?
Yes.
Were you still with Detective Elmer now, or were you by yourself?
No, I was by myself at this point.
Do you recall where in Bradenton that you responded to?
The address was off of 52nd Place. I don't recall the numerical or the apartment number.
Do you know what Miss Gibson was doing in Bradenton?
She was working as a home health aide,
Was she at a business or a residence
a
working?
resident.
And did you meet with her?
I did.
And where, inside, outside?
Right at the front door.
Any issues understanding or communicating with her?
Not that I recall, no.
Did she appear to understand the questions you were asking her?
Yes.
Did you understand her responses?
Yes.
Did you conduct an interview of her?
Yes.
What information were you attempting to gather from her?
Just the circumstances to how the missing person left that apartment.
Did she appear to know who this missing person, this missing juvenile was that you were talking about?
She did appear to know her, yes.
Did she provide you information about this, this child?
Very brief information.
Was she cooperative during your interview?
She didn't appear to want to speak with me, but she did answer my questions.
What was her demeanor?
She was upset that we were at her apartment, not her apartment, at her place of work, asking her about the investigation.
Had you told her, or had you called her back after looking through the apartment and let her know you were coming down there?
I don't recall if we did or not.
Did she describe Felicia Williams at all to you?
The only thing she mentioned to me that she was a mean girl. That's the only description she gave.
Did she reference anybody by the name of Granville Ritchie?
No,
Did she reference anybody by the name of Trevor?
she did.
Did she identify that as a relation to her?
Yes,
And what was that relation?
her son.
Did you ever hear the name Granville Ritchie from her?
Not that I recall, no.
What was the next thing that you did after you interviewed her, Ms. Gibson?
I returned to the Temple Terrace Police Department.
Were you given any other assignments?
Once I returned to the police department, I was actually informed of some changes based on an interview that was conducted by other detectives, and I was asked to go back and confirm the statement given to me by Gibson.
Were you notified that Ebony Wiley had changed information that she had originally reported to law enforcement?
That's correct.
And so, well, let me jump back. When you're conducting these interviews, for instance, of Ms. Gibson and Bradenton, do you relay that information to anyone?
I relayed it to my sergeant when I returned to the police department, yes.
Is that standard operating procedure when multiple law enforcement officers, multiple detectives are conducting interviews and assisting with an investigation, that there's a point person that they all relay their information back to?
Yes.
Okay. And who was that sergeant that you relayed your information back to?
Sergeant Michael Lowell.
Was he kind of the point person for the detectives and officers who were out doing investigation to then report back to?
Yes.
So did you respond back out to Bradenton or somewhere else to interview Ms. Gibson?
I went to the same place in Bradenton.
What was her demeanor this time?
No change. No change. It was the same.
Did you ask her the same questions or similar questions as that you did previously?
I did.
Again, did she still appear to act like she knew who this missing child was, Felicia Williams?
Yes.
Were there any changes in her statement to you?
In regards to her interaction or her being there at that apartment, no.
You said with regards to that, were there changes in regards to other statements that she had made?
Yes.
And what were those?
There was a change as to who the person was that gave her a ride to Bradenton, and also she was inconsistent on the amount of sons that she said she had.
The number of sons she had?
Yes.
Do you recall what that change was?
It was 3 to 4.
So she initially told you she had 3 sons, and then the second interview she told you she has 4 sons?
Yes.
Okay. To date, have you ever been able to confirm that Miss Gibson, in fact, ever met Felicia Williams through your investigations?
I have not.
While you were in Bradenton, were you given another assignment, or did you respond back to Temple Terrace to relay the information to Sergeant Lowell?
So towards the end of our second interview, and I'll add, the second time I went down there, I was with Detective Elmer again. He received a phone call that a female had been found deceased in Clearwater, and we were asked to go and respond to that location.
So did you leave Bradenton and go to Clearwater?
Yes.
Where is it that you responded to in Clearwater?
We actually went to the police department. We initially were going to respond to the scene, but we learned that the scene had been cleared, so we met with detectives at the Clearwater Police Department.
Did you speak to them about their findings?
Yes.
Did you see any photographs of the scene where the body had been located?
I did.
Had you had a description or a photograph of Felicia Williams, the child that was missing?
I had seen a photograph. We didn't have one with us on hand.
What were your observations of the scene where the victim had been located?
It was basically a small rocky area in mangroves. It's an area that's used by fishermen a lot.
And where was this area specifically?
This was the north side of the Courtney Campbell Causeway on the Clearwater side of the bay.
Did you do anything with the photographs that you observed there while you were at the Clearwater Police Department?
Yes, I emailed them to Sergeant Lowell
And what was the purpose of that?
so that he could check and see if it resembled the person we were looking for.
Okay. When, did you do anything else there at the Clearwater Police Department?
Not that I recall, no.
Were you asked to do, were you given another assignment, or did you respond back to Temple Terrace Police Department?
Before we went back to the police department, we went to the scene and walked it. I also drove the area, checking for anything that may have been of interest for us, but nothing was found.
And you're speaking of the area along the causeway?
Correct.
You didn't collect any evidence or find anything of evidentiary value?
No.
Were you aware of whether or not the Clearwater Police Department had done that same thing when, in the area that the body had been recovered?
I believe so.
What was the next thing you then did?
I believe I went back to the police department at this point.
I assume, did you relay the information that you had learned while being in Bradenton and in Clearwater?
Yes.
Did you ever meet with Detective Carroll upon returning there?
I did, yes.
What was he doing when you had returned there?
He was conducting interviews as far as I'm aware. He made me aware of some conflicting statements and requested that I complete a criminal report affidavit against Ebony Wiley.
Did you ever interview or personally speak with Ebony Wiley?
I did not.
Did you ever interview or personally speak with Granville Ritchie?
I did not.
And what was the purpose of you preparing, you said a criminal report affidavit?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a charging document. When someone's going to be charged with an offence, it's a probable cause statement that we turn in.
And you were preparing that as to Ebony?
Yes.
And why were you doing that?
Because Detective Carroll wanted Ebony charged with providing false information during a missing persons investigation.
And did you complete that criminal report affidavit?
I did.
Was Ebony Wiley subsequently arrested on that charge?
Yes.
What, if anything else, did you do?
As far as the CRA was concerned, that was it.
Were you given any other assignments on that same day?
I don't recall.
Were you ever asked to respond out to take any photographs?
Yes.
Was that still on May 17th?
It was, yes.
Where were you asked to respond to?
I was responding to a discount auto parts on Hillsborough Avenue, or an advanced auto parts store on Hillsborough Avenue.
And what was the purpose of you responding there?
There was a vehicle there that a search warrant had been authored for, and I was asked to do a cursory search and take photographs.
A search warrant had been previously obtained and
Yes.
signed by the judge?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle was there when you responded out?
It was a silver Lexus sedan, 4-door.
Did you document your findings by taking photographs of that vehicle?
I did.
Detective, I'm approaching to show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit N, Composite 1 through 34, for identification purposes. Have you previously looked through these photographs?
Yes.
Okay. And do they fairly and accurately depict the vehicle and how you found it on the day, on the 17th, when you did your cursory search?
Yes.
State offers an evidence, State's Exhibit N, 1 through 34.
Any
Nope.
objection?
No, Your Honor.
Admitted?
Permission to publish.
Yes.
States N1, and Detective, was the car still at the auto parts location off of Hillsborough when you took these photographs?
Yes.
And this photograph, does this depict the back portion of the Lexus vehicle?
It does.
And 2, again, still the back portion of that vehicle?
Yes.
Did you note markings on the side of that vehicle?
Yes.
Do you recall what side of the vehicle
On
they
the-
were on?
On the passenger side of the vehicle.
And 3, and it's very, very difficult to see in this photograph. Can you point to the area where you observed those scratches?
We're all along the passenger side of the vehicle.
From the front passenger door to the back panel?
Yes.
Did you also conduct a search on the inside of that vehicle?
Brief search, yes.
State's Exhibit N9, what does this photograph depict?
It just depicts the interior of the vehicle.
N11,
Again, the interior of the vehicle, the rear seat.
what was that in the back seat?
It appears to be a suitcase.
N12, is that a close-up of that suitcase?
Yes.
N13, is this a photograph of the inside of the suitcase?
Yes.
Did you conduct a thorough search on the inside or simply take a photograph?
No, I just photographed it.
N14, what does this photograph depict?
I believe this is underneath the passenger front seat.
N15,
This is just another angle of the interior of the vehicle.
showing from the passenger side.
Correct.
Was anybody at or around the vehicle upon your arrival at the auto parts store?
I was met there by some Hillsborough County deputies. I don't recall the names of them. They had no involvement with the search. They just stood by while I was there.
State's Exhibit N16. Does the, not the center console area, but the center part in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat?
Yes.
Did you also photograph the trunk area?
I did.
State's Exhibit N19. Does that depict how you found the trunk?
Yes.
State's Exhibit N20. Is this another photograph of the trunk?
Yes.
Did you inspect the bottles or what was inside those bags there?
No, I did not. I just photographed it.
Did you also document, other than the markings on the side of the vehicle, markings that you observed elsewhere around the vehicle?
Yeah, there was some markings on the passenger side headlight.
Were there markings that you documented N25 towards near the trunk area? Or
They
what was
weren't.
the
They
front?
weren't markings. It was a collection of dirt, sand, kind of in the bottom crease of where the trunk would close.
And was that the purpose of this N25 photograph?
Yes.
N26, does that also document that dirt that you were?
Yes, it's the same.
N27, this shows towards the back panel, and you can see the scrapings a little further, and do those extend up towards the front?
Yes.
The front passenger door?
Yes.
Did you take photographs of the front passenger side headlight?
Yes.
State's Exhibit N31. What was the purpose of that?
It's hard to see in the photo, but to document the scratches on the lens of that headlight.
Showing you N32. Did you note when when you took that photograph, this small green material here stuck within the headlight.
Yes.
State's Exhibit N33, what does this photograph depict?
This is the undercarriage. Again, just it looks to be a small piece of debris that's stuck on the undercarriage of the vehicle.
Does there appear to be damage back along the center left of this photograph?
Yes.
And State's Exhibit N34, does this also depict damage that you had
Yes.
photographed?
Yes.
What happened with this vehicle after you were done taking photographs of it?
It was towed to the Hillsborough County impound evidence location.
Were they assisting Temple Terrace with a more thorough collection of evidence and photographing or processing the vehicle?
Yes.
Prior to that vehicle being taken to Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, had you ascertained who had owned that vehicle prior to conducting your search?
No, I did the search and photographed the vehicle. That's my only involvement with it.
Was that your assignment, what
Yeah.
you were to take care of?
Yes.
And what you were ordered to do?
Yes.
Okay. Did you collect any items of evidence?
I did not.
Did you respond to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office impound lot where the vehicle was processed?
Yes, I followed the tow truck with the vehicle.
Did you remain on scene while that vehicle was processed by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
Did Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office collect items?
Yes.
Did you take custody of any of those items that they collected?
No.
Did you do anything else on May 17th of 2014?
No, not that I recall.
Did that conclude your investigations with this case, or were you given other assignments on other dates?
I was given other assignments on other dates.
Do you recall what the next assignment was that you were given?
I believe the next day I followed up on tips. I don't recall the specific information on them.
Did any of those tips lead to furthering the investigation that you followed up on?
Not that I recall, no.
What, if anything else, did you do?
There was some license plates that were researched that were given to me by another detective.
Do you know where these license plates or where these numbers were obtained from?
They were from license plate readers on the Courtney Campbell.
Did you yourself go and retrieve these and pick what license plate numbers you were going to investigate, or were those license plate numbers already provided to you?
They were just provided to me.
Do you know what system is utilized to ascertain these license plates?
Yeah, it's Vigilant Systems.
Vigilant?
Vigilant.
And do you know how that works, or what direction these cameras are pointed in?
I don't know if they were stationary cameras that caught these. Oftentimes they are.
Speculation on hearsay.
Sustained.
Was the license plate on the Lexus vehicle ever given to you as researching?
Not that I recall.
Did you attempt to make any, conduct any further interviews of any potential witnesses?
No.
Did you ever speak to a Kenneth Shelton?
I don't recall any interview with him. I believe we went to give him a ride and bring him to the police department.
Okay. That name sounds familiar to but you didn't conduct any formal interview of him?
No.
You did transport him where?
To the Temple Terrace Police Department.
Okay. Did you ever respond back out to that apartment 721 at Doral Oaks apartment complex?
Yes.
Do you recall when you responded back out there?
It was the 21st
Of May?
of May, yes.
And what was your purpose of responding back out there?
A search warrant had been authored and approved for that location, and we went back with Hillsborough County crime scene investigators.
And were you present when Hillsborough County crime scene investigators were there conducting a search of the apartment?
Yes,
Was evidence collected on that date by Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
I believe so, yes.
Did you take any possession of any of that evidence on that day? And is this apartment located within Hillsborough County, Florida?
Yes.
We have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Judge, we have a moment.
Yes.
Detective Smith, I wanted to confirm Gloria Gibson's phone number that you had called and made contact with her on, and was that number 813-793-5727?
Yes.
State what passes this witness, Judge.
Okay, cross.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
You have a slight British accent?
Yes.
You had indicated that you had no difficulties understanding Gloria Gibson.
Correct.
Does she have an accent?
Sorry?
Did Gloria Gibson have an accent?
Yes.
What was her accent?
Jamaican, I believe.
Okay. There's a Jamaican accent that's more like a proper British accent, and then there's the other Jamaican accent. Which one was it?
I'd say maybe in between the two.
Between the two, okay. And your conversations with her, was it recorded?
Yes.
Okay. On both occasions?
I don't believe it was recorded the first time. Second time, yes.
You had indicated that Ms. Gibson had said something about Felicia Williams as far as her being what?
Mean.
Okay. And you don't specifically know anything beyond that as far as where Ms. Gibson may have gotten that information from?
No, I do not.
You don't know whether or not Ebony Wiley may have conveyed some information that led her to that conclusion?
I have no idea.
The license plates that you reviewed that are photos taken by Vigilant Solutions
Yes.
would be 7 separate license plates. Is that accurate?
Sounds right, yes.
Okay. Do you need to review your report to make
Yeah.
sure that we're accurate?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you do that?
Seven's correct.
Okay. And none of those license plates match the license plate on the Lexus?
That's correct.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, redirect.
Detective Smith, when you spoke with Gloria Gibson, didn't she in fact tell you that she was with the little girl and saw the little girl the day prior on May 16th of 2014?
She said she was at the apartment, yes.
And when she told you that the little girl was mean, she was relaying it as she had personally seen and observed this little girl.
Yeah, that's what she said, yes.
Not that somebody else had told her that.
She never told me anyone else had told her that, no.
Nothing further, Judge.
One question.
Go ahead.
Also, take a look at your report. Is there any indication that Gloria Gibson said that she was mean based on her observations?
The Gloria Gibson advised me the girl was mean.
Right.
She didn't say where those observations came from or how she formed that opinion.
Right, didn't give you the source of that information, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Excused. So being recalled if they need you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, it's now 7 after 12. We're going to go ahead and take our lunch break. Just remember my previous admonition while on the break. You're not to discuss anything about this case with anyone. You're not to listen, watch, read any news accounts related to this case. You're not to do any independent inquiry. So you guys are welcome to go to lunch together. You don't have to go to lunch together, but if you do go to lunch together, you can talk about anything under the sun except anything related to this case. All right, see you all back here at 1:30. All right, thank you.
All rise, jury exiting. Go ahead and leave the notes here on your report.